I've never missed a sound check. In my whole career, I've never missed one. I'll have new artists that are having all the success, and they'll come out on the road with us and be like, dude, you sound check? And I'm like, you don't?
What's up, you guys? I am super excited about today's video because I'm trying something new on it, something I haven't done before on the channel, and that's an in-person interview, and it's with a pretty freaking big star, Mr. Kip Moore.
Love, I've been looking for a while.
I've been really blessed this year for this channel to grow tremendously. I mean, I'm talking like 6,000 to whatever we're at now, like 92,000. And that's pretty wild. And in response to that, I want to keep upping my game and challenging myself and doing new things. And certainly putting interviews on this channel is one of those things that I want to continue to do, continue to get better at. And I'm really thankful that Kip allowed me to kind of talk to him before his show in Charlottesville recently. I really like Kip Moore because I think when he came out of the gate, I was sort of ready to write him off as another bro country artist after Something About a Truck.
Something about a truck in a farmer's field.
But that would have been a really incorrect summation of who he is as an artist, because I think he has really established himself as someone that blazes his own trail. He's got his own kind of Springsteen-influenced country rock sound. He has really built his audience through touring, not through radio. He marches to the beat of his own drum. He really cares about his fans, and having seen him a few times live, there are few people that can command a crowd the way he does. He's currently on an acoustic tour, and he is getting ready to release his 4th LP, and I'm sure it's going to be a big one. He's got his current single, She's Mine, out at radio now. I just got to sit down with Kip for a conversation where we covered some of that stuff, where we covered his background, where we covered his love of the outdoors. It's truly just a conversation. I'll try to add some timestamps down below, but I did want to stop in here first and just say thanks to you guys, thanks to the patrons and the people that are really helping me take this channel to the next level. You know, candidly, this video ended up being very expensive because something went wrong with my shutter speed and the shutter speed of the light flicker on the bus, and I had to spend a bunch of money to get this footage fixed, but we got it. You know, we got it. And that's part of the learning process here. I'm excited to be learning, and I'm just excited to be on the journey with you guys. So thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing Thanksgiving. I did want to say that I'm going to concurrently be releasing this as a podcast episode as well. You know I've kind of let the podcast go away, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the beginning of the podcast of kind of why that has been the case. But if you're someone that would prefer to just listen to this because it's not going to be a very fancy edit, it's basically just going to be us talking, you can go head over to the podcast and do that. But without further ado, this is my conversation with Kip Moore. I love you guys, and thanks for being on the journey with me. There will probably be some intro before this, but I'm here with Kip Moore before his Charlottesville show, sitting on his tour bus. It's all a janky setup at the moment, so just excuse all of that. We got a ring light, we got my camera, and we're just making it work. But thank you you're the first major label artist to appear on this channel. So this is either blazing a great trail or
the beginning of the end.
Yeah, the beginning. Yeah, truly. So I've been reading about you. I mean, look, I've been a fan for a long time. I've actually interviewed you twice before, but both times nothing was done with the interview.
It'll be done this time though.
So the first time we ever met was in 2011 or 2012. I was gonna
say 2012. Yeah.
In New York City.
Yeah.
It was like me and my music editor, you and your publicist or something, and we went to a restaurant called Oceana.
It was around the Up All Night record.
Do you recall what you ordered at this extremely fancy Midtown New York seafood restaurant?
No idea.
You asked for a burger.
No way.
Yeah, to which the waiter said no. Like you're not allowed, and it was all like $50 oyster plates, and you had them bring you
sounds about right.
A salmon burger
that they were probably all going to charge back to me.
Probably. I certainly didn't pay for it. So I'm glad to be doing an interview that
he put LaCroix in his whiskey, by the way.
A little bit of LaCroix. There's a thing that people say.
I had to call you out.
There's a thing that people say on my channel in response to the Florida Georgia Line record, where they say that I can say I ain't country.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not pretending to be. But you grew up very country. I want to start there. I want to because for anyone that doesn't know you, you're from a town called Tifton, Georgia.
Tifton, Georgia.
Describe, in the 2010 census, Tifton had 16,000 people that were listed on it. But so it's not a big town. But describe what it's
definitely
like.
gotten bigger. It was really small growing up for me. I mean, it's a whole lot of pine trees, backcountry road, a lot of dirt road riding, a lot of fishing holes, ponds. It was a very simplistic, super simplistic life. Little strip malls full of like Payless shoes and Kmart, not even a Walmart. It was a Kmart. We finally got the Walmart, but it was Kmart forever.
And you were one of 6 kids?
One of 6.
Where are you in that line?
2 older brothers and 3 younger sisters.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I was the youngest boy, and then and my mom was like, I gotta have a little girl. And then my dad, my dad was amazing, man. I miss him all the time. It was a super blue-collar family. I mean, there was
What did he do?
He was a professional golfer. So he was a stroke away, actually, in his 30s from making the PGA Tour. A stroke away.
Really?
He went through Q school, lost to Johnny Miller, who ended up winning like 3 U.S. Opens. Back then, the tour didn't pay very much unless you were like one of the top guys. Mm-hmm. So he had 2 kids right away, had me, and it was like he had to get a steady job, so he was just the local pro at a small little club in my hometown.
Really?
And the guy probably never made more than a little over $40,000 a year, and 6 kids took care of us. And I don't know how he did it sometimes. There was one time where there was all 6 of us in a little 2.5 bedroom house. I mean, but he was, my mom and dad, man, they were incredible. Mom played organ in the church. But yeah, my dad was like the one that turned me on to music, essentially, because he was a fanatic for music and always playing Motown records and playing like Jackson Browne, and I was hearing These Days at an early age, and like hearing Bob Dylan records and Little River Band, Cool Change, and I remember hearing that, my mind exploding, and I wasn't old enough yet to grasp the weight of that song. And then once I got older and I'm hearing songs like Against the Wind, now that I'm older, and that was his favorite, and Cool Change, I'm realizing he was always wanting to get out. We were like an anchor to him. He had this wild spirit, but he wanted to be true to us, so he stayed. But he always had that rambling fever about him. He was a wild man.
The idea of him being a wild man. Yeah. No. I got real into the history of Tifton when I was researching you. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they had, for a long time, one of the things on the Wikipedia page for Tifton, Georgia, is that they were the home of the 2nd largest magnolia tree in the world.
Yeah.
In 2004, this tree went up in flames. To this day, the police have not said who lit the fire and they have not reopened the park. Also, you moved to Nashville in 2004, and you say your dad was a wild man. I'm just asking, were either of you involved, or do you know people that were involved, No, man. Or were you like protectors of it, so when you went to Nashville, someone's like, "Now I'm gonna make my move and ruin the tree."
Tifton has a lot of. I love my hometown. For anybody I love Tifton. I'm proud of where I came from, but Tifton has like all these like claims to fame. Like you'll see all these signs that say like #1 reading capital of the world. I'm like, who comes up with that? Like, where is the like data on that? Like best small town in America, and I'm like, did somebody just put this on a? It's sometimes it's kind of funny, but I don't know if that magnolia tree was the biggest. It was
the 2nd biggest. That's the best part about their claim.
It's
who's claiming the 2nd biggest magnolia tree in the world.
Yeah.
Was that a part of your upbringing at all?
Not, I made out by the tree one time, and that's about it. Mandy.
There you go, Mandy.
Yeah.
Maybe she burned it down.
Yeah, maybe she did.
She left her jilted. Everyone when they talk about you is going to talk about surfing, and I was like, I wonder if he's ever had to give his like surf playlist. And then I found you have to do that all the time in interviews of that. So I was like, not a good question. But you are known as an outdoorsman for surfing, for backpacking,
I've gotten
for
really into
rock climbing.
Yeah.
And I thought this was very interesting. That was a surprise to me. You've opened this place called Bedrock at Red River Gorge in Kentucky.
It's special.
Will you just tell me about what it even is?
Man, so 2 years ago, long story short, 2 years ago, me and my buddy Jeremy Sawyers, who's like a world-class climber, one of the salt-to-the-earth kind of guy, insane outdoorsman. We're sitting there in Hawaii. He came with me. He wanted me to teach him how to surf, so he comes to Hawaii with me, and we're having coffee, and he's telling me about how this place in Kentucky that I didn't even know about, the Red River Gorge, how it's a top 5 place to rock climb in the world. The hiking's insane. It's got like 100 waterfalls. It's nuts. It's like the Grand Canyon with trees, and I had no idea it's 3 hours from Nashville. So, anyways, he's telling me how crowded this place is, and all these people from Brazil and France and all over the world are coming to climb here, and how much traffic's going through. And he's like, there's really nowhere to stay, and people are just camping out. And I was like, let's build a lodge. Like, let's do it. Like, let's build like a really nice lodge with a bunch of bunk beds. Let's make it have a huge common room with a kitchen, where people can like really relax, and it's like a gathering, and we can make it really cheap and affordable for people. Because that was my thing. Like, I've never tried to get into things. I've been offered all these different kind of things to make money, and I could have made a lot of money doing different things with people. But if my spirit's not moved anything, because I've never been driven by money. Like, I truly never have. And I was like, let's create a place that brings all these people together, and it's like a home for all these people, and they feel like they're a part of something. We'll make it super cheap. I mean, it's packed out every single week, almost sold out every weekend. It's a magical place, man. It's the most zen. It's in the middle of the gorge. It's on this beautiful piece of land, man. They build fires every night outside. No one is on their phone. They show them, all the good routes, and it's become a, and that made me get into it. I was like, all right, if I built this place, I got to get into it. And now, like I went today here in Charlottesville. Me and Manny, my bass player, we both got into it heavily over the summer. Now we're trying to go every day when we're on the road.
Were you like out in nature, or were you at Rocky Top?
We were Rocky Top. Yeah, we were Rocky Top. I loved it, man. That place was great.
Yeah, Rocky Top's amazing. I once
and when I get home, I'll shoot over to Kentucky, and I'll go to Bedrock, and I'll go climb outdoor then.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing and hilarious. Of these 3 things, which, if any, inspire the best like lyrics or something? Surfing, rock climbing, backpacking.
Almost so much of the Slow Heart record. A large majority of this record, when I go to Costa Rica, there's something that happens.
What are you doing in Costa Rica?
I stay like in the woods in this kind of little bungalow a friend of mine has, and I wake up. I mean, it's like it's bare necessity.
How did you find it?
So I met this guy in the water, truly, like surfing, like this guy named Pete. Met him in the water. He invited me after we surfed all day together. I went down the coast on a limb and was like, okay, I'm gonna try to surf this spot, and went for like a week. Met him in the water, and he invited me back to his place with him and his girlfriend. I had dinner with him. We just became fast friends, and now we'll go surf Hawaii together, Mexico together. He'll come to my shows. We hang out, and then he's got a little place in the woods in Costa Rica, and I'll stay in his little extra room. And man, I wake up every morning at 6. It's like a clockwork. Sun hadn't really come up yet. I can hear the monkeys in the trees, man. I can hear all the birds, and that's the one thing about this life now is I miss the mornings, man. I never get to experience morning anymore. I never get to experience restaurants setting up, and I love all those sounds of a city like moving. So I'll have my coffee, man, and it's every morning, and I'm constantly writing out here too. But so much of my writing happens on that walk between leaving that bungalow, and I was about a 200-yard walk to the water, and just stuff just starts coming out, man. I'm drinking that coffee, man, and I have just melody after melody come to my head, and I get back after surfing, and I start jotting down ideas, and I start going through guitar riffs, and so many of those songs that will be on this new record were spawned from just doing that. And then I'll have like a whole verse and chorus, and I'll call up Wesson Davis or Dan Couch, 2 of my dearest friends, and I'll be like, all right, this is what I got, and I'll shoot them 3 or 4 different, almost full verse and chorus kind of stuff, ideas. And then Weston will hit me back with some dynamite lyric, or Dan, and then we're off to the races, just kind of texting back and forth. And then when I get back to Nashville, we finish it up. And that's how most of this record, and then a lot of the record was out here on the road with these guys. And I write a lot with my band. We'll come up with riffs all through sound check.
So it's waking up to go surf is really your sweetest spot.
Oh man, dude, it's
interesting.
Yeah, I'm never thinking about it while I'm surfing. While I'm surfing, I'm completely locked in to what's happening out there.
So I once got up on a wave for 4 seconds. It's crazy.
It's not bad.
In New York City, in the Rockaways.
It's cold.
That's where I was learning. That's where I lived, and so that's what I had to.
Stuff.
That's what I had to work with. But I found it incredibly, the strangest mix of anything I've ever encountered of slow pace and fast pace mixed together, where it would be just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for an eligible wave, and then as soon as one came, I would have to execute all this stuff
Yeah.
I had just learned, and try and hop up
Man,
onto my feet, and then I'd feel like an idiot when I didn't do it right. But there was something very satisfying about. I guess it's like what people get out of hunting. It's like a lot of waiting, and then you gotta perfectly do the one thing you gotta do.
It's not a lot of waiting if you're in like a really happening spot where it's just wave.
That's not New York.
Yeah. Like if you go to Costa Rica, it's pumping really consistent. Hawaii on a good day, you know. But I say this to people all the time. Like people ask me, like, why in the world would you surf, man? There's sharks, there's monsters, and I get that because if I love to snowboard. But if you told me tomorrow, if I said, man, Grady, I'm going to Park City to go to snowboard, and you said, oh, you're gonna have a blast, but Kip, watch out, man. If you go down that certain canyon run, there's a monster that comes out and he eats people every now and then. I'd be like, fuck that. I'm not going surfing, man. You know, like, but surfing does something to me where.
Although I will say, if you could repurpose Yeti in modern country music to be about that instead of another song about a cooler, I would really appreciate it personally.
But you know, I'll say this. I was telling the guy this other day, like, why would you do that? I said, man, because it's like this. When you get to a certain age in life, say 15, that childlike joy, that purest form of innocent childlike joy becomes almost impossible to tap back into. And to me, that is the most beautiful thing in life, is experiencing childlike joy. Mm-hmm. Because once you get to a certain age, man, that shit's gone, man. And you're always grasping at straws trying to find out, how do I get that again?
Yeah.
Joy is a very elusive thing, and it always has been for me. So when I'm out there at sunset or sunrise, man, and I'm on like a really good wave and I'm inside a barrel or something and I get off the back of it, I experience that purest form of childlike joy over and over and over, to where, man, I will risk at all costs, because to me that is the ultimate purpose of having life and being on this planet, is to experience that, what you're experiencing in that moment. So I'll take whatever risk comes with that.
That's beautifully and eloquently said. And while you were speaking, wave on wave got stuck in my head. And now I'm like, it could be about your chase of joy while surfing. You said you've written a bunch of music kind of in that setting, and I want to pivot into kind of what you're doing now, which is, you know, there is a fourth LP on the way.
Yeah, the spring.
Sometime in the spring.
Yeah.
You got your single "She's Mine" right now.
Yeah.
What's like your kind of headspace for this next season of life? What do you want people to start kind of prepping for and beginning to kind of anticipate for this record?
I think that the most important thing as an artist, you know, I'll have a lot of people, whether I bring them out, you know what, and they see what this fan base is, and it's a very attentive fan base, and they'll ask me, you know, a lot of times, like, what do you think the most important thing is? And everybody's got different things, you know, but, you know, everybody wants to have hit records. Hit records, you know, Tom Petty always says, you know, he's always wanting another hit record. Merle Haggard always says, I'm dreaming of one more hit record. It's like, everybody wants to have hit records because there is such a power in radio to get the masses to hear what you do, but it's, what do you have once you get those people in the door? What do you have as an artist? What does your soul have? What does your music have? What do you have to say? How are you going to make those people really feel something and to be a part of you? And the one thing that I've always had a grasp on is who my audience is and who I am. Mm-hmm. There's never been any bullshit gray lines. Like, I have always really stayed authentic to who I am as a human. I've never lost sight of that. I've never gotten caught up in the smoke and mirrors of what happens through this whole journey. So for me, I'm more locked in than I've ever been with that and who they are and who I am. So I feel like this record, of all the records that I've made, I feel like, you know, each time I'm learning more and more of who my audience is and who I am. And I'm changing, and I'll never make the same record twice. Like, as I evolve, I want the music to evolve. I don't want to stay in that space of trying to be relevant to some younger generation if I'm not feeling that way anymore. If they happen to jump on board, that's great, but I'm going to grow with my audience as they're growing. Mm-hmm. And I think that with this record, you'll get a lot of sense of where I'm at, very much where I've been at in my life over the last year. I think sonically this record takes another leap. There's more risk with guitar tones. Every time I'm always like, I will tinker with guitar tones for ages because I never want it to be the same. You know, you get a record a lot of times with artists, you know exactly what every guitar tone is going to sound like. You know what the drums are going to sound like. We did a lot of experimentation with opening doors, letting things breathe and bleed in each other. You get like a lot of analog kind of sound. And then lyrically, I think I've had a lot of questions with, I've always had a faith about me. I still have that, but I'm always trying to learn, and I'm always inquisitive and with myself and with other people. And I've been trying to study. This is, I'm getting kind of way off, but I'll try to study some of what even like Islam is, so I can understand when I'm having a conversation with someone. I'll study Mormonism, like I'll study Hindu. I'll get into all these things, and I want to understand where people are coming from. And I think there's a lot of questions even I have with my own faith in myself. And I think you get a sense of that some of this record. I'm still searching. There's a lot of searching on this record. There's also a sense of me kind of feeling like at times I was born in the wrong freaking time period. Like I was not supposed to be. Like I feel like I'm a much older soul from a different time period. And I think you even get some of that with this kind of thing. I think there's a lot of that kind of. And then there's, you're going to tap into some of the stuff that's got the elements of the Wild Ones that was always the crowd. My personal fan base, I feel like that's a very crowd favorite. You'll get elements of that aggression from Wild Ones, and it kind of taps into some of those groups.
Mm-hmm. So you just mentioned Wild Ones. Let me read you a quote from an interview you did years ago, where you said, "I was watching our fan base multiply like crazy off of Wild Ones," and that was your second album. "But because I wasn't getting played on radio, everyone thought my career was dying here in town. Yeah. I heard the mumbles. I saw where all of a sudden maybe I wasn't getting the same calls I used to after the success of Up All Night because things weren't working as well on radio." I've seen you a few times. I saw you during Up All Night. I saw you open for Dierks Bentley during the Wild Ones era and was, frankly, astounded just how you were controlling a big amphitheater. I was like, damn, Kip can really command attention and play a live show, and that's certainly become, I would say, the one line people kind of might say about you when guys are just shooting the shit talking about country music. It's like, man, Kip Moore has a really loyal fan base that comes and sees him live. Has that really been, is in your mind, I guess what I'm asking is that do you view your career the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I put a lot of work. Grady, for me, man, I get around, and I get around a lot of people that I feel like as artists, and for me, I've written over 1,000 songs, man. It's what I do, man. I'm constantly writing and trying to perfect my craft where I never feel relaxed. I never feel satisfied. We sound check for 2 straight hours every day. I've never missed a sound check in my whole career. I've never missed one. I'll have new artists that are having all the success, and they'll come out on the road with us and be like, "Dude, you sound check?" And I'm like, "You don't?" It's baffling to me. And I know now where people are using so many tracks and stuff to where, I had a conversation with one guy that was like, I asked him, afterwards, I was like, "So what are you going to do if your computer crashes?" And he said, "I don't know." I was like, "Have you never thought about that? Have y'all ever played as a band without the tracks?" And he said, "Nah." You might want to try that one time because it's bound to happen. I've been on gigs.
Remember Ashley Simpson on SNL?
Man, it can happen. I've been opening. I've been the direct support for somebody at one point that was supposed to headline this massive 40,000 thing, and the computer crashed, and they weren't going to play the show, and I was supposed to do a double set, and I was like, so for me, the reason I say that is because we put so much time and energy into what we do as a band, that I feel like that has paid dividends for our crowd coming to see us because they know that we're going to give them something that's going to make them feel something. And I'm constantly trying to work on my guitar playing to expand my vocabulary with my guitar, so it's, we worked so hard at that element that I think that's been our bread and butter for years and why people continue to come back through the ebbs and flows of commercial success. I mean, during that Wild Ones time, man, I went in this really dark, depressive state because I even thought I was losing it. We come off the heels of the massive commercial success of Up All Night and Hey Pretty Girl and, those songs. And it's like I had to follow that. And even my label, I felt like maybe that it was going away because they weren't in the trenches with me. They were
Right.
back in Nashville
Right.
in that little bubble that
Right.
everybody lives in. And even I was kind of in that where I was like, dang, you know, I haven't had a top 20 hit on this whole record. But I started noticing these just groves of people coming to these shows, and we were selling out 2,000-seat rooms in a matter of minutes, you know, and we would play. I remember we played in Spokane on a Tuesday night, probably a month after that record came out, and sold out in a day, and we played the whole record. Think about this, like in this genre, like in this, you don't really do this kind of stuff. We played the whole record from start to finish, 13 tracks, and that whole place knew every single word to all 13 songs in sequential order, and I was just like, all right, we're on to something right here, and my gut served me right because I remember writing That Was Us, and I remember turning that in, and my, you know, people going, we love the song, but you can't sing about this stuff in country music, and I was like, why not?
Yeah.
You know, like, why? Tell me why there's you know, why are we putting a fence on this? You know, and it was, and that to this day, that is the song that lights a place up every night, and I always knew it would. You know, so
It's interesting because I think, like, frankly, when you arrived, your first kind of, I mean, I know you had a single before, Something About a Truck, but the three big singles, Something About a Truck, Beer Money, Hey Pretty Girl, were in the heyday of bro country. Everyone was ready, self-included, and I put you in that video of why country music was awful in 2013.
But if you listen to that record,
I loved that record.
You know what I mean? Like,
and I wanted to avoid
the bulk of that record is Crazy One More Time, and it's Everything But You.
Yes.
And it's
and Where You Are Tonight, my favorite.
And when you listen to the record, Something About a Truck doesn't really even fit on the record. You know what I'm saying? Like sonically, it doesn't fit.
The rest of what I was gonna say wasn't an attack on those songs. Because I think in terms of if you're gonna do a list song, I like kind of the structure of it and stuff. I think they're all fine songs in and of themselves. I think it's just been interesting to see you so kind of subvert, I think, what a lot of people's expectations were of yourself or of you. And I think, I'm sure, though, that I could see it driving you a little bit crazy. Kind of coming off, because I mean, and we don't have to get all into it, but it's like you had a crazy 2011. I mean, I know your father passed away that year, and then you break, and like things are suddenly working. I just imagine it was a challenging transition then to not have the big radio success, to kind of.
I got into a insanely dark headspace from right before Wild Ones came out. I had a whole record that got shelved. People don't know that. Like, I wrote a whole record that I still love. But I think the label saw me breaking from what was such a huge record. And the songs were so big. And, you know, the audience doesn't know a lot of times, too. Like, a song like Something About a Truck. And like I said, the nuts and bolts of that record were so different than that song. I kind of wrote that song as a joke, like just a kind of tongue-in-cheek joke that I wrote in an hour with Dan Couch after we'd already written the song. And I was just like, we were just kind of messing around. It wasn't like I'm trying to be some artistic, like, we were just kind of messing around. Just, I had that opening guitar, boom, boom, bam, boom, bam, bam. We were just kind of messing around. And it was a super swampy kind of blues groove. But, you know, when we turned it in, it was like, this is the single. And I was like, and I'm kind of like, are we sure, you know? But at the same time, I can't, that song, it's still a joy for me to play because I know that it brought people joy. And it wasn't my favorite, but I have to be like happy that brought people in to see what we really did.
Yeah.
And then once they got there, they were like, shit, this is a rock and roll show, you know? And it was like, I heard it all the time. People came in, they were like, we came to hear that song, but man, that song, Crazy One More Time, that you played, and this and that. And then it was like, all of a sudden this stuff started happening. And I noticed with anyone that actually had the record, I started noticing my meet and greets when I'd be signing for people outside after the bus. Crazy One More Time and Faith When I Fall, every single time, if they had the record, that was their favorites. So I'm like, all right, those are the songs that I enjoyed writing the most. Crazy One More Time, it took me 6 months to write. I kept coming back to it. I'd come back to it. I'd have a dream. I'd wake up with more lyrics. And it was like, that was my bread and butter. That's what I did well. And that was my natural ability, was that kind of thing. So once I saw that's what the audience loved, it gave me more confidence to stretch into that lane. And then Wild Ones became nothing but that. You know, it was all that vibe and that a little bit of darkness and this and that. And then you see this fan base just latch onto a product, and you're like, I'm glad I trusted myself, you know, in that sense.
You know what's interesting, that as you talk, I'm self-absorbed enough to apply everything to myself, but I think a similar thing honestly happens with music criticism. Is it's like, I can make a video, like I could include something about a truck in a video called like "Truck Songs Need to Die" or something.
Yeah.
It'll get 1 million views, and that'll bring a lot of people in. But like 90% of my content is really positive. I love country music. That's why I bother to cover it. But it's this weird trade-off where people respond to it.
It's one of those things too, man, where it's like, I get it. You know what I mean? It was like, you know, like I said, I wrote it very tongue-in-cheek, but I can't be disappointed, because that's what provided the avenue for us. And it's still to this day, people still get down to that groove, and it's like,
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
like, it's cool. Yeah.
Now let's talk about something that things that aren't so positive. I have a quote that I want to read you from 2014. This was 5 years ago, and in all of the reading I did about you, this was my very favorite thing that I read, because I just found this to be a hilarious sentence. You said, "There are things in this world that piss me off that I know I'll never be able to change, like shitty people in Congress, mechanics that tell you your motor is blown when it's most likely just a small problem, rising gas prices, selfies every 2 seconds, duck lip selfies, phones in general, paying $75 for a decent seat at a baseball game, people that bitch just to bitch, and being politically correct. But above all, the thing that pisses me off the most is scalpers." I would just ask, 5 years later, which of those things still pisses you off the most?
Oh, man.
Because that is a very entertaining quote.
There's so much of that still irritates me. You know, I'm kind of, scalpers really, really bother me in a sense of, you know, I had a sports guy attack me one day, and I ended up going on to a show, and it wasn't pleasant, but, you know, I'd made the comment about scalpers, and he says, "It's a free market society." I said, "Man, that's different, man. This ain't shoes. This ain't me going and buying this pair of boots that I'm wearing, and I can jack the price up, because there's 1 million of these shoes around, and it's up to somebody else if they're going to pay for it." But it's like, this is a product. I roll through Charlottesville once every 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, people in this town, you know, and it's something that we've done the lead work. Nobody else has done the leg work. We're the ones that have been out here, like, losing sleep and grinding through the years, and, you know, losing relationships because of this kind of stuff. And, like, you know, we're the ones that have paid the cost. And the fans that have taken the journey with us, you know, I don't ever, it's like, you go look at my merch booth, man. Like, I refuse to do stuff that prices people out of things. Like, I know I can sell that shirt for $40, but I'm going to sell it for 25 or 20. Like, I'm not going to do some gimmick to sell something that's super expensive to come back and meet me. Hell no, I'm not doing that. So, for me, I just have a problem with that someone can jump on a site that has access while Jim, who's my real fan, is working his blue-collar job, who's excited to come home and try to buy that ticket, but he had to go to work at 8 a.m., tickets went on sale at 10 a.m. Now he comes home and the whole thing's sold out and he can't get in. I got a problem with that. And then it's somebody that bought 6 of them and they jacked them all up. I just think that's a different situation than the free market society, because it's a different thing, man. There's, you know, how many baseball games in a year? What is it? Well, I know there's
like
80.
100.
Yeah, 160 or something. So you got all kind of chances to go to another home game. You got one chance every 2 years at one of these shows coming through town. So if I'm trying to price my regular ticket at $35, $30, that's what I want the ticket to be, man. I don't want that person to be strapped, because they will pay it. I see it. They'll pay that $100 off the StubHub or whatever, and then they're strapped, you know, for the. I know what it's like to be that person, so I want to always try to protect those people, and it might always be a losing battle, and there's going to be some idiots that are watching this that are like, oh, well, you know, I can do whatever I want to do, and they're just, I just think that's a shitty way to be a human. even when I had no money, I'm still not going to try
So
to do
I don't. I
something
feel
like
like
that. Yeah,
you're my audience, so I feel like you're not idiots.
I think it's there's just ways that I want to go about my life to try to, I don't do everything right by any means, but it's stuff like that, man. I don't have a tolerance and a patience for.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate knowing that a family paid and now they're strapped for the next 2 weeks to try to get by.
Couple last things just to kind of wrap up.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, obviously you care about your fans. Why an acoustic tour right now? And, like, what are you really, like, are there any things that are really surprising you on this acoustic tour? Are there songs that didn't work didn't work as well in a big, like, live band setting that are really clicking now, or?
Nothing's really surprised me in that element. I mean, I feel like the fans have been latched on to all these songs. It's been special to rearrange these songs and make them speak in a different capacity. Everyone doubted internally this tour. I got tons of pushback from management, label being like, what's he doing? This is too early in the career to try to pull something like this off. I knew what my fan base was. I knew they'd show up, and I knew they would love this. I had it in my head what I wanted it to be, and it's been everything I wanted to be and more. It's been so special to give them something, a completely different show until this new record comes out. That was another thing, too, is I didn't want to give them the same show for this whole year, knowing a new record's coming in the spring, and I was just trying to hold them over and give them a different way to interpret these songs. And now, with a new record coming, we probably won't do this for another 2 years.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's just a different way to play these songs, and it brings it back to the root. And it's something I can do now for the next 20 years, man.
Other question would be, and I'm kind of barreling through now because Kip's got to go play a show, but who in country music right now are you just really intrigued by? Watching their work, loving it?
I love Ingrid Andress.
Ingrid Andress?
Yeah, Ingrid Andress, yeah. I said it really fast. My Southern came out just then, but I love what she's doing. I love Brothers Osborne.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I love Hardy's voice.
Mm-hmm.
I've always enjoyed Church. He's a guy that's, just consistently stretched, and
you feel cut of a similar cloth.
People will, yeah, like I dig how he's done it, and I also dig how he's not scared to go for it. And I hate it when everybody's like, oh, this ain't like the last record, go back to being Chief. And I'm like, the Chief record, I'm like, why would you ever want your favorite artist to make the same record over and over and over? We got enough of that shit going on. And I'm not gonna say names.
You shouldn't want any father to remake Chief.
Like
he's got to grow up.
I loved it. Yeah, man. You know what I mean? Like, you want to hear him singing about different things. Like, you want him to evolve. Like Tom Petty, man. I'd be mad if he was doing Running Down a Dream over and over. That's one of my favorites. But I love how he did, Wildflower and all that stuff, man. That was great stuff, man. I want my artists to evolve, the ones that I love. So, good for him, man. Kudos for him, just stretching, So, there's a lot of people that I love, but those are just ones off the top of my head right now.
And then last question, and a thing probably on everyone's mind. What do all these bracelets mean, if anything?
Most of them have snapped. There was a lot more than this. I get them from every surf spot that I go to.
Really?
I collect little things. Like, somebody will make me something, somebody will give me something. I've had about 30 of them that have snapped through the years. So they just kind of snap, and then I'll get another one the next time I go, and it's just kind of like all like, just memories of different places that I've surfed around the world.
I had no idea.
There you go.
I was just trying to troll you. I
know he was trying to catch me, man, but he didn't.
There's a whole meme going around called Visco Girls, of girls that wear a bunch of scrunchies on their arm, and so it's. I didn't know if you were playing along.
That's not the case.
Anyway, thank you so much for doing this.
Grady.
Again, hopefully it's not a major bellwether of of the profile of interviews you'll do to come, but maybe it'll do great.
No, I appreciate it.
This is the new way. Anyway,
cheers,
bye guys.
Later.